They so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and speckled Israelites being Israelite foreigners scattered across the four corners of the earth, including within America, Babylon the Great, the main place for our captivity, and we are the Most High Yahweh's chosen people of the nation of Israel. So without further ado, as always, in Allah Shuan Kodash, being the holy tongue, is in the Paleo Hebrew, being the ancient Hebrew, I'm going to give all praises, glory, infinite honor to my power, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom is the God of the living, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Baruch Kodash, which is all praise to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. In the name of his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, and the Holy Spirit, who is our strength and our Redeemer, and our light and our salvation. In the same tongue, I'm Adamashana Kabodium, Lahasaquanium, Shal, Gadawarika, meaning double honors to the apostles and elder bishops, Great Millstone, and Shalawan, honors and salutations to Bayashadawada, meaning the house of David, referring to the 144,000 elect governing body, the one-third elect remnant of the nation of Israel, along with the rest of the one-third elect men, women, and children of Israel. And to fellow servant Malak Rayab, speak at it again with another lesson through the spirit of prophecy, being a testimony of our Lord and Savior, Hamashiach Habashai, who the masters of the world ignorantly refers to Jesus Christ. It's a quick lesson, a relatively quick lesson. I'm going to, further byproduct of the curses in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, specifically in verse 56, and how to, how our women, once delicate, will become, very harsh, by having their minds weaponized against their true nature to be nurturers, to their one husband. Okay. And, part of that nurturing, the nurturing nature, being incubators to their one husband, it's part of the commandment the Lord Yahweh Shemeshah gave our people to be fruitful and multiply. Okay. So through Esau's satanic devices, including feminism, okay, through, the CIA and so forth, our women have fell for the okie doke, falling for, Esau, Edom's satanic devices to further divide their own nation, which they have further contributed, okay, into that cause. And now they're starting to, reap what they have sown, okay, by getting in bed with this devil, okay, literally and figuratively, okay, by, conforming their minds into this beast system, okay, going back to the Willie Lynch era, okay, where, he had developed the blueprint on how to create a slave, okay, by pitting the so-called Negro male, or the so-called Negro female, okay, against the Negro male, okay, hence, the origin of, the whole Section 8 housing, snare, all right, along with the, SNAP benefits, which the Republicans, essentially just passed this bill called the big beautiful bill to remove at least 3.2 million people. I believe it was 3.2 million people from SNAP benefits. Obviously, that's going to more so affect our, our people, our so-called community, the so-called black and brown people, or in this case, the so-called Negroes and indigenous people, the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right. Who predominantly so-called black and brown people, but nonetheless, you women, specifically you nigger women, are just to say blatantly starting to reap the benefit, you're starting to reap what you have sown, away the false benefits that Esau has given you, okay, because you're honorless and you're spineless, okay, meaning what? You have no integrity, all right, and this all stems back to the curse in Deuteronomy 28 and 56. So this lesson is prefaced off of this Eve on the screen, taking the TikTok like a lot of women have been doing, mainly our women, venting their frustrations out on Esau, Edom's social media platforms, okay, predominantly owned by Google, which is why a lot of censorship is on these social media platforms, especially through YouTube. But nonetheless, she was on there, venting her frustrations, how she lost her job, and she's on the cusp or the brink of being homeless, okay, and having to rely on her 20-something-year-old daughter, okay. But yet she never mentioned anything about, the Lord helping her out, anything of that nature. Why? Because she has relied on Esau, Edom, okay, the mighty Egyptian, for help. Okay, now she had to learn the hard way that Esau, Edom don't give a damn about her or her people. Okay, so this is why there's another example of her, they lamenting for the Teats. Okay, meaning, going into the precept in Isaiah the 3rd chapter. They will lament for the Teats, meaning what? Lament meaning mourning. Okay, how women would, lament, for fruit, for abundance, because, going into that parable, the fruit of a woman is, her breast milk, which is used to nourish, the children that she would bear for her one husband, of her Israelite king, her Lord. Okay. And now, she's lamenting for her teats, meaning what she's trying to, she's dried up. She's exhausted by way of this system. Okay. So she's trying to, draw from a source that is sourceless. Okay. Because she's dried up, especially in the case of procreation. All right. You women have bought into this notion of, this whole independent woman snare, all further byproducts of feminism. Okay. And where you wait till till you're up there in age, hitting the wall. Okay, to where your wall's dried up, your ovaries are dried up, your eggs are dried up, and you're useless in a procreational sense. See, so it's all a part of you lamenting for the teats. Okay, being dried up, being exhausted, being used up by this beast system on behalf of this modern day Egyptian Esau Edom, and now and now you're trying to finally get your nigga wake up call, man, realizing that this devil never cared about you. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play this video. I might, periodically stop it, throughout, and filter everything in biblical prophecy. Adam righteous be fair to edifying and exhorting to elect. All right, so this it's a video, the elder Mawatazak Ban God, out there in LA, had used to, respond to this viral video, of this Eve. A lot of, other brothers have been, doing response videos too. So I'm going to play this video. All right, fair use.
So let's listen.
By May 8th, 2025, 106,000 Black women lost their jobs, including me. And those of us that's been out here trying to find work again, it's basically just been non-existent. And I'm starting to feel like this is by design. Because there are over 100,000 women, Black women like me, who have the same story, who has applied for over 300 plus jobs and just not getting any reply.
No, she said, everybody not getting any reply because you are expendable. Okay. Now, just to expand on what she was saying, this is the article. This is the information she's referencing, specifically on this article on blackenterprise.com. You can see a disgruntled nigga woman on the screen, which is fitting for the topic at hand. And it says, April jobs report: so-called Black women lost 106,000 extra jobs, most among all workers. Okay, we don't have to read any more on that. Okay, then there's another report, going into what I was saying about the whole, Republican bill that recently got passed. I'm going to bring that up real quick. Okay. Yeah, 3.2 million Americans could lose food stamp benefits under new work requirements. Okay, by way of the big beautiful bill. Okay, passed by which is the Republican-backed spending bill legislation, to be considered by the Senate. Okay, as I believe, they're in the works of having having this approved. Okay, but the damage has already been done either way. Okay, in the midst of these trade wars on behalf of DJT. Okay, further provoking these foreign nations that we get our imports from, mainly China. Okay, that's going to further affect us because that's more taxes, which is what tariffs are. That's going to be applied on our goods, our commodities. And that's going to more so affect the so-called middle class and more so the lower class. Jake. Especially those living in the ghettos, barrios, Indian reservations, and so forth. You see these dung hills, mentioned in 1 Samuel the 2nd chapter. So yes, this was done by design. Okay, now, and this further substantiates that, by way of this CIA program known as feminism. All right, that they used Gloria Steinem, a Shedemite CIA agent, all right, as the spokesperson for this movement, so to say. Alongside the nigga woman standing next to her, the name of Dorothy Pittman Hughes, okay, who went back to the spiritual realm 3 years ago, okay, who was known as a so-called black feminist. You see that? So she bought into, Esau's snare to keep her people destroyed, and to empower the minds of the weaker vessel, the woman, the Israelite wife specifically, okay, to rise up against her husband and create chaos in the home, disorder, dysfunction, okay, which refer to lead into the emasculation of the man, okay, and the minds of the women to be made masculine. Okay, it's another example of Isaiah 29:16. How this devil would turn everything upside down. Okay, I believe it's in let me see. I believe it's in Isaiah the 29th chapter. All right, but so yeah, but anyway, so like she said, this was done by design. You see, now a lot of you Eve gonna having to find it out the hard way. Okay, walking out here proud, narcissistic. Okay. Like you can't be touched. Okay. Not realizing who your enemy is. Case in point. All right. So yeah. So like I said in Isaiah 29:16, surely your turning of things upside down should be esteemed as the potter's clay, referring to Esau, Edom in the modern day time, and all those who follow the satanic counsel. For those who follow for all those who follow the ruler, if they hearken to the ruler, pursuing Proverbs 29:12. All right. Where it says, if a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked. Case in point. So I'm going to go back to the video.
There's just no feedback, or you get those emails that says, hey, we have chosen someone else that has been more qualified for the job, even though my experience and my education fits the job description perfectly. And I don't know what I'm going to do.
That's the mindset of a lot of you Eve. Okay? Because once your zaddy turns his back on you, now where are you going to go? A lot of Jake's going to reject you, man. Because you thought you were hot shit. All right? This is, and they're going to reject you in these last days we're living in. Okay? But then at the time of civil unrest, complete lawlessness, in the times of Jacob's trouble. Okay? During a time of great civil unrest due to a scarcity of resources and martial law being implemented as a part of Esau's Hegelian dialectic. Okay? The order abkeo. Where a lot of Jake in general, including Eve, are going to be out there vulnerable, man. And this is why recently, throughout America, Babylon the Great, and specifically in Memphis, Esau has, through the FBI, has begun the works of releasing a task force. The task force in these particular areas of crime, specifically in Memphis, to regulate the crime. Okay. Who has further co-signed this? DJT. Okay, the same one using the whole migrant surge border crisis as a Trojan horse to further target our people. Okay, for means of oppression and affliction. Okay, the same ones looking to demonize us. Okay, through the left wing side of politics, through the DEI movement. Okay, as if we're to further accuse us of being racially bigoted and so forth. Okay, and as another extension of another way of labeling us as domestic terrorists. You see, it's all part of his conspiracy to destroy us, man. Hence why they're releasing a task force in areas such as Memphis. Okay, a crime-riddled area where a lot of Jake dwells, which is not done by design. So having all this been said, the writings on the wall, okay, for the siege of Jerusalem 2.0 to take place in the time of Jacob's trouble, man. A lot of you women, you Eve, okay, are going to be caught out there, man. All right. So this is Isaiah 32 and 9. All right. Starting in the King James Version, it says, "Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ear into my speech." All right, let's get it in the NIV. All right, and it says, "You women who are so complacent, rise up and listen to me. You daughters who feel secure, hear what I have to say." So a lot of our women, you Eve, feel secure, okay, within the comfort of the false security of modern day Egypt, America, the main place for our captivity. Okay, why? Because it says in Proverbs 29 and 26, many will seek the ruler's favor. Isaiah 32 and 10 in the King James Version says, "Many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come." And all right, and now in the NIV it says, "In a little more than a year, you in little more than a year, you who feel secure will tremble. The grape harvest will fail, and the harvest of fruit will not come." I mean, that lines up with the curses, Deuteronomy 28 chapter. Okay. You know, we're going to get that real quick. Deuteronomy 28 and starting verse 30. It says, thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Okay, so what a demographic of people more so fits this curse than so-called Negroes and indigenous. Okay, who suffered having this adultery, having their wives taken in the time of war, during the Spanish Inquisition, during chattel slavery. Okay, all right, you know, having our resources exacerbated and exalted, you know, and exhausted. Okay, through the fruits of the land, through the cattle, through the, you know what I'm saying. Hence Esau killing off the buffalo supply, right, which was used as a main food supply and clothing source for the indigenous and the northern tribes. There's another form of genocide against them to kill them off gradually. All right. What did Esau do in so-called Black Wall Street in 1921 in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma? You know, he dropped bombs on that civilization that we established, well, because we were thriving without him. See, that's what you know made him fear us. Okay. The possibility that we could survive without him, which is counterproductive of us being in his system. Okay, being used as work meals. Okay, for his system, because the devil can't thrive without us, but he's made it to believe that we can't thrive without him. And you women fell for that snare because of the curses. Okay, and our minds be smitten with madness to believe that we are inferior to this devil, Esau, Edom, the subclane white man, the man of sin and son of perdition. That's why our people, including our women, emulate him. They out of envy. Or in Proverbs 3rd chapter, it says how we're not supposed to envy our oppressor. Okay. So this is Deuteronomy 28 and 31. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given into thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. All right. In verse 32, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given into another people, and thine eye shall look and fail longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. All right. So in the time of slavery, we know, case in point, we had no might in our hand, for example. Okay, well, these devils were able to do whatever they wanted to us. Okay, and however they wanted to us. Okay, including taking sexually exploiting our men, women, and children, including our men, through the buck breaking process, to incite fear in the hearts of the women and the children. All right, to subject themselves under Esau, Edom. See, so under years and years, okay, of colonization and oppression and affliction, our people have developed love for our common oppressor through a term known as Stockholm syndrome. This is why you nigger women are the way you are. Okay, so let's go back to Isaiah 3 and let's see, Isaiah chapter 3, or Salaki, Isaiah 32. Isaiah 32 and 11. And starting the King James Version. Tremble, you women that are at ease. Be troubled, you careless ones. Strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins. Okay. NIV. All right, now let's get the NIV version. Tremble, you complacent women. Shudder, you daughters who feel secure. Strip off your fine clothes and wrap yourselves in rags. All right, a lot of you women are, you Eve, you into your attire, you're into the fashion. Okay. The fashion aspect of so-called living. Okay. Do your Gucci, your Gucci and Prada purses and so forth, and Michael Kors. Okay. Your Cumbrella eyelashes. You know what I'm saying? Your hair hats, weave, which is the weave. Okay. BBLs, all that madness. Okay. Because of the false liberty that Esau is giving you. Okay. To for your own, your own undoing. Okay. For you to be downtrodden. Isaiah 32:12. All right. Here's a point. All right. And starting in the King James Version, it says, they shall lament for the teats, for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine. All right. NIV version, beat your breast for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vines. All right. Because right about now, you Eve are fruitless collectively. Okay. Going into this parable, of how you should lament for your teats. Okay. Being that teats is another term for breast. Hence where the origin of the word tit. Okay, so being that a fruit, once again, the fruit of a woman is through her breast milk. Okay, used for nourishing the children of her one husband. Okay, going into further revealing the true nature of why of you women and why you exist in the first place. All right, to aid the man, your one husband, your Lord and guardian of your household, to be fruitful and multiply, to multiply the children of Israel, to further replenish the earth. Okay, hence what the Heavenly Father Yahweh told our forefather Jacob in Genesis, the 35th chapter. You women have forgotten, mainly our women, you Eve, okay, Keisha, Big Shirley, Maria, you have forgotten your true nature. And now you're starting to reap what you have sown, man. Okay, your contribution to destroy your own nation. Okay, so now you're lamenting for your teats, you're beating your breast for the pleasant fields, looking to draw nourishment from a source that is destitute. Okay, because you're dried up, you're exhausted. Okay, because if you allowed this devil to exhaust you, to use you, okay, until you were no longer usable, further reminding you that you are expendable. So now you're fruitless, especially you older Eve. Okay, that are not even profitable to your men to aid them in being fruitful and multiplying. Okay, because really the prime of woman is when she's like around her teens and her up until like her early 20s, but she can bear children. That is of her use. This Eve, all right, she's damn near pushing 50. Look like, or in her 40s. Okay, the very least. Okay. All right, Shalom to Akim on the comment board. Get a couple of these precepts. All right, from the brother Kawas Malakia by Shemisha Brakata Akia. Brother put up let me see. Yeah, the brother put up Isaiah 3, same chapter. Well, it's Isaiah the 3rd chapter in the GNT. Isaiah 3:16 in the GNT. Okay, says the Lord Yahweh by Shemishai said, "Look how proud the women of Jerusalem are. They walk along with their noses in the air. They are always flirting. They take dainty little steps and a bracelets on their ankles." Okay, you're always flirting with your eyes. You're looking for validation from men. Dick teasing. Okay, so many words. Okay, all right, which is wickedness. All right, because it's part of you exalting yourself and your pride. Okay, this is Isaiah 3:17 in GNT. But I will punish them. I will shave their heads and leave them bald. See, this is why the nigga woman can't grow hair. These curses further identifies who we are. Okay, because of the pride and our rebellion against the Lord's law, statutes, commandments, or the first holy covenant. Isaiah 3:18 in GNT. A day is coming when the Lord Yahweh by Shemishai will take away from the women of Jerusalem everything they are so proud of, the ornaments they wear on their ankles, on their heads, on their necks. Okay. All right. Our women all about their beauty. All right. Their appearance. All right, through their attire, through the jewelry, including the nose jewelry. Our scriptures speak about there's a lot of these bugged out Eves like to wear them like them little bull rings. Okay, but they say in the world, if you see a woman with that in her nose, she's really a freak, like a nympho and whatnot. Okay, but nonetheless, I digress. All right, the water for the precepts. This is that's pretty much the point. And it's Isaiah 30:1. It says, "Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord Yahweh by Shemeshah, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with the covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt." Okay? In the modern day Egypt is America, Babylon the Great. All right? And the modern day Pharaoh and ruler is Esau, Edom. Okay? Verse 3, "Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion." All right? And through the spirit, who's the first Edomite, to conquer Egypt? Ptolemy Soter, who's considered the Pharaoh of Egypt. Okay? All right? Edomite Pharaoh. Okay? Through the spirit. During the time in the Hellenist period, the beginning of so-called white supremacy. All right. Now, within this modern day time, the modern day Pharaoh is still Esau, Edom. Case in point. All right. Isaiah 30:3. "Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion." Okay. This is why our people are shamefaced Israelites, because of our iniquities. Our sins upon sins, our compound sin against the Lord. Okay. So we're reminded of our sins, hence our shame. Through our shame, okay, these curses, okay, of not inheriting any long-term success by following the ways of Egypt. It says in Joshua 1:8. We're going to grab that real quick. All right, Joshua 1:8. It says, "This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success." This is how we have good success. This is how we were ensured to have good success. Following the ways of the Lord, the ancient paths, all right, within the law, statutes, commandments, or including the commandment to be fruitful, multiply, that you are women, you Eve, were supposed to contribute into. But the majority of you are not. You're bearing your shame, man. All right, trusting in modern day Egypt. Okay, that's why you're being further reminded that you have no success here. Okay, whatever success you had was temporary. Because this woman, this Eve, it has all this, you're talking about all this college experience she had. But when she went to apply for the McDonald's position, they pretty much laughed in her face. And they told her, while laughing in her face, mocking her, that she should be ashamed of herself for applying for that position with all the college experience she had. So that's great shame, man. Okay? It's Isaiah 30:5. Says, "They were all ashamed of a people that could not profit them, nor be in help nor profit, but a shame and also a reproach." All right, because these Edomites were not created to help us. Let's go back to the curses. Okay, Deuteronomy 28 and 33. "The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always." Okay, so and that is the case now. Okay, what's the further example of this? So-called Black Wall Street. Okay, we were further reminded that we are crushed under their subjection, that we cannot thrive without their interference, under their subjection, man, because of these curses. A lot of our people are gonna have to find out the hard way, especially Eve, as this Eve had to find out. Okay, Deuteronomy 28 and 34. "So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see." And she's mad at the sight that she had to see. Okay. Of being vulnerable in the job market. Be reminded that she is expendable, despite her high level college experiences, in IT and so forth. See, it further confirms that a man in his right logical mind don't give a damn about a woman's education, because a woman's worth is in her obedience to her one Lord, her one husband. Okay, and being that we're in a sinful and adulterous generation, pursuing Amos 7:17, our wives would be harlots in the street. See, now throughout her little tirade on social media on TikTok, she never mentioned her so-called baby's father once. See, that's a further byproduct of the curses, specifically Deuteronomy 28, verse 54 and 56. Okay, a lack of family camaraderie within our communities, within the Israelite community, because of the curses. Who further aided into those woes. Okay, Esau Edom through his devices, i.e. feminism, for example. Okay, so this is Deuteronomy 28, jump down to verse 48. It says, therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord Yahweh by Shemeshai shall send against thee, and in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. All right, you Google yoke of iron, is those iron and metal gauntlets that Esau made us wear around our necks during chattel slavery, man. Okay, all right, to give alarm to the Esau Edom when we try to escape. Oftentimes, case in point, when we try to escape with those things around our necks, we get caught up on fences and so forth. See, like the movie Free State of Jones, where they made that Jake wear that the same yoke of iron around his neck. Okay, I believe he tried to escape and then ended up getting caught. Okay, so that yoke of iron, further represents the slavery we have to go through. This further identifies who we are, man. Okay, give me 1 second. Make this quick move. With the clock in a second, but it's Deuteronomy 28 and 49. It says, the Lord Yahweh by Shemeshai shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt understand. The eagle, all right, represents iniquity. All right, the most vile and profane of the fowls of the air, which is a symbol of the Greek Empire that was ruled by the Edomites during the Hellenist period, which originates back to Egypt, ancient Egypt. Okay, meaning the house of bondage, and which ironically is the same symbol of America as in the eagle. Okay, hence why sleepy, creepy pedo Jim Crow Joe Biden, okay, believe passed some kind of legislation, some kind of legislation or executive order to make the eagle, to officially make the eagle the bird of the land or something of that nature. All right, shortly before Trump got back in there, because these devils know who they are. So this eagle represents Esau Edom. Okay, our common oppressor who came over here speaking languages that we did not understand. All right, through the Spanish, the English, the Portuguese, the French, and all these languages are the same languages that all the lost tribe of Israel, ironically speaks. Okay, within at least one of those four languages I mentioned. All right. So this is verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young. Okay, and they're doing that now, man. Massacring our people in the street, despite how young they are, such as Tamir Rice, about 13 years ago. Okay, and 11 or 13 years ago, Emmett Till during the civil rights movement. All right, and they get younger and younger, man. They during the time of the Hellenist period, when you read the account in the Maccabees, Esau was lynching our children, and he was doing the same thing during chattel slavery, man. And and he doing that, and they're still lynching Jake down south. Even within these modern day lynchings, through these shootings and so forth. All right, so they have no remorse on our people. So where do you women think that you fit in that in the grand scheme of things? You think you're exempt. Okay, just like this nigga woman thought she was exempt. Okay, Dorothy Pittman Hughes. All right, so this is Deuteronomy 28 and 68. It says, and the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yashai shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. And this is Old English, okay, meaning buy as in redeem. See, none of these nations came to our rescue when we were in slavery. Not one of them. Okay, even when the British Edomites stepped in during the Revolutionary War, okay, between America, they only offered Jake freedom if we agreed to fight on behalf of British interests against the Edomites in America, and then they reneged on their end of the deal. This further confirms that these devils don't give a shit about us. In case in point, the spokesperson behind this whole task force implementation down in Memphis is on behalf of some Elamite. Okay, the brother Mahaloya had went into that a few hours ago. Okay, but they use an Elamite I believe is an Elamite FBI agent. Okay, to further contribute this implementation of the task force down there in Memphis. It's front of the lines of Psalm the 83rd chapter. How these nations would mutually conspire with one another to remove Jake or remove the remembrance of Jake from the earth. So we not only have the Edomites, our arch nemesis, our common oppressor looking to eliminate us. We have these other nations, even 2/3 of our people, like this nigga woman here. Okay, a 2/3 bugged out, simple ass, haughty minded nigga woman, so-called black feminist. Okay, so this Eve on the screen is no different of a spirit, man. Okay, of this Eve here, Dorothy Pittman Hughes. Okay, so this is why you Eve are going to continue to suffer, because you don't know what time you're living in, and you don't know who your oppressor is, your enemy. All right, so it's this prophesy here, Deuteronomy 28:68. We would go into Egypt again with ships. Egypt meaning the house of bondage, not ancient Egypt, because our homeland Jerusalem is adjacent to Egypt, so it wouldn't require transportation to Egypt on via ship. This is talking about modern day Egypt, America, Babylon the Great. Okay, give me 1 second. All right, so what are the demographic of people went into chattel slavery on slave ships, packed on slave ships like sardines, okay, mistreated, all right, to the point to where we were defecating on each other, all right, due to a lack of nourishment and treatment or proper treatment, to where the sharks were followed that great stench of blood from them slave ships, man, because we were by way of the record amount of deaths that was taking place on there. Case in point. All right. So it said we would be sold into our enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, slave owners. All right, slave masters and the wives of the slave masters that would sexually exploit Jake and then scream grape if Jake did not, Jake men didn't refuse to lay down with them. So this is all the shit we had to endure as a part of the secular history of America, of our oppression, affliction, the main place for our captivity, America, the same place where our people continue to seek validation from the devil who created this system for the purpose of us being destroyed. Now they're starting to further reap what they have sown. So so nobody in their logical mind feels anything for these tears, man. Okay, because you're not crying for your nation. You're not crying. You're not crying in terms of being sorrowful for your own sins against the Lord Yahweh by Shemashai, which is why we're in a predicament in this predicament in the first place. You're crying because your spiritual and mental investment in this place has backfired, and now you're feeling hopeless. You don't know what else to do. Okay, it says in Zechariah 9:12, we're prisoners of hope. All right, so this is Isaiah 3. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get this off I'm gonna read this from the brother again. Through the version the brother put up on the comment board. Isaiah 3:18 in the GNT. All right, let me see. Let me scroll up a bit. So the day is coming when the Lord Yahweh Shemeshah will take away from the women of Jerusalem everything they are so proud of. The ornaments they wear on their ankles, on their heads, on their necks. All right. All right, everything that Esau gave you, the Lord's taking away from you. Okay? Because you're proud. Your pride. Pursuing Isaiah 3:16. So this is matter of fact, I'm gonna keep reading. I'm gonna keep reading in the King James Version. Isaiah 3:19. The chains and the bracelets and the mufflers, the bonnets and the ornaments of the legs and the headbands and the tablets and the earrings, the rings and nose jewels. All right, you can go into them, bull ring, nose jewels and so forth. They wear nowadays. The changeable suits of apparel, and the mantles and the wimples, and the crisping pins, the glasses and the fine linen, and the hoods and the veils. And it should come to pass that instead of sweet smell, there should be stink. All right, because the hygiene of our women, mainly Eve, of the southern kingdom, is of low quality due to a low pH balance, ultimately because of the curses. All right, that's why there's to add on to that, there's there's an epidemic of sexually transmitted diseases, including down here in Houston. All part of this curse here. It says, and instead of a girdle, a rent, and instead of well set hair, baldness. Okay, so once again, why the nigger woman can't grow her hair. And instead of a stomacher, a girding of sackcloth, and burning instead of beauty. We're not going to that burning. All right. All right. Or including them sexually transmitted diseases. All right. It looked like she's wearing a hair hat too. Case in point. But nonetheless, this is Isaiah 3:25. It says, thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty in the war. And her gates shall lament and mourn, and she being desolate shall sit upon the ground. Okay. All right. So, so our men have fallen by the sword through the course of these centuries, these years, within these centuries, within these very many wars against our enemies, including the Edomites. Okay. During the Revolutionary War, fighting for this devil, fighting against their fellow devil of the UK for the devils in the US. And, which is what the Memorial Day yesterday was really about, to honor the fallen Union soldiers of Jake, okay, of the Southern and the Northern Kingdom that were forgotten because we're expendable here. You see, and in these countless other wars we had to fight. This is so in this war coming, including this civil war, a lot of our people are going to be left vulnerable because they haven't turned to the Lord Yahweh Shemeshah and continue to follow Egypt for help. Okay. 1 second, Father Shah. Salakia. Yeah, so this is St. Luke 21, and I'm going to start at verse 20. All right. St. Luke 21:20. All right, and it says, And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. All right. So this happened during the Roman siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD. Okay, where Esau during the time of when they were known as the Romans. Okay, infiltrated Jake. Case in point. And it's going to happen again. All right, because Jerusalem is a people before a place, and they're going to infiltrate us again. All right, hence why the task force has been set up in Memphis. Who predominantly lives in Memphis? Jake. And that reminds me of that movie. What's the Last Purge? Okay, where the movie setting took place in Staten Island, where it's predominantly inhabited by Jake, and Esau is going through the hood, okay, going through little apartment complexes, just eliminating Jake, okay, by government orders. And this was going to happen, where Jerusalem is going to be surpassed by armies again. Case in point. So this is verse 20, St. Luke 21 and 22. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe to them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. All right, so Lord Yahweh Shem Shah is going to bring wrath upon 2/3 of our people. Okay, just like he starved them out in Egypt, 2/3, for being disobedient and proud and unappreciative of the Lord's miracles. Okay, splitting splitting the sea into splitting the sea into half, and allowing it to levitate, and allow the children of Israel to pass by. But you had niggas, 2/3 degenerate Israelites complaining because you can't please a nigga, man. Okay. Then during the time of Masada, 73 AD, during our final resistance effort against Esau, okay, Esau was preventing resources, commodities coming into Jerusalem, which led to cannibalism, famine and cannibalism, okay, and that's going to happen again, okay, and another omen of that is the whole trade war situation between America and China, where we get a lot of our imports in America, the main place for our captivity, from China. Okay, so they know that slapping these tariffs on imported goods from China is going to further affect our community, because we don't own anything because of the curses, having the fruit of our vineyards dried up by our enemies. Okay, so this is St. Luke 21 and 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, and to the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Okay, so our people were trodden down in the Holy Land, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Because them Gentiles that claim to be us are over there, but we're the Balfour Declaration. All right, and initially invading the land is prophesied in Ezekiel the 36th chapter. Okay. So it's Revelation 12 and 12. And it says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down into you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. So now Esau is just going all out through his full-fledged attack on Jake, through his conspiracy to destroy us, through his immoral decrees, okay, such as that so-called, that Republican-based big, beautiful bill to move millions of Jakes off of SNAP benefits, okay, and to increase the age requirement, the ending age requirement of 54 to 64, of producing, proof of seeking work and so forth. See, so they're adding on to our bonds, they're adding on to our affliction. All right, and that's going to ultimately lead into the insurrection prophesied in 2nd Ezra the 16th chapter. Okay, grab some more pieces off the board before I go back to play the rest of that video. This is jump up a bit. Saying Brother Kwas Malak put up Sirach 26:13. The grace of a wife delighteth her husband, and her discretion will fat his bones. Right? Because in Acts 16:31, it speaks about how, only a righteous man, the Lord, okay, can protect his household. But if you don't have a man at all, what possibility do you have of being saved? It says, in the book of Timothy, women shall be saved through childbearing. And then going to the precept of the elder Muatazak Bangad out there in LA had prefaced his lesson off of in 1 Timothy 2 and 14. Now it says, going into, the title, the woman being deceived was in a transgression, referring to Eve. Why? Because she was ensnared, within, the guile of the serpent. Okay, the lies of the serpent, that she can be godlike, which is idolatry, madness. Okay, by weaponizing her mind to believe that she can be a goddess. Okay, there's no such thing as that in the scriptures, man. Because that's just nothing but idolatry. Okay, of the legacy of idolatry really associated with these other heathen nations, with the heathen nations in general, including Kali Ma and Shiva of the Hindu goddess worship. You know what I'm saying? That them Punjabi Elamites indulge in. It's another form of Queen of Heaven Semiramis worship. You see, and so forth. Case in point. So really these women, these so-called feminists and so-called black feminists, like this one on the screen, with unbeknownst to her or not, or in that same spirit, that Semiramis Queen of Heaven spirit. Now they have the audacity to cry because, they got the short end of the stick. Okay, trusting in modern day Egypt over Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, trusting in their oppressor, Esau Edom. All right, so we're going to play this. We're going to get this precept here. Matter of fact, let me go back to comment board. Same brother put up Proverbs 31:10. It says, "Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies." Verse 11. And King Solomon went into that. Ecclesiastes 7:28. Out of the many women he dealt with, he found not one righteous wife, because women are deprived of wisdom. It says in Job 39:17. Hence why Isaiah 3:12 says, women and children rule over you. Why was women and children mentioned in the same sentence? Okay. Because women are children with breasts on their chest. Why? Because it's just simply the weaker vessel. That's how the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushua set it up. Okay. That's why they need proper guidance. They need to be looked after. Her problem is she had no man to look after her. She thought she had it all figured out because of Esau's wine, all right, including feminism. All right. Give me 1 second, Baba Shah. This is Proverbs 31:11. The heart of her husband doeth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. All right. So the heart of a husband can trust in what? A shamefaced woman, the brother put up in Sirach. Okay. The majority of you women, you Eve, you Keishas and Big Shirleys are not shamefaced. All right. And that's why you're out there for the taking as booty, spoils of war. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and I gotta have to clock in, on the slave ship. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring out this precept here. I'm gonna end off with the video. It's Isaiah 59:19. It says, "So shall they fear the name of the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai shall lift up a standard against him." So when this devil comes with that insurrection, coming down with a great wrath, known to us with a short time, all right, to devour as many as he possibly can, as it goes into 1 Peter 5:8, as in many Israelites only, the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai will lift up a standard against these devils for the sake of his elect, all right, to be spared in that time. You 2/3 Israelites, including you Eve, you 2/3 Keishas, Big Shirleys, Marias, and so forth, you're going to be caught out there as booty, spoils of war. The Esau's Gerger troops, the National Guard, these little independent militia groups such as, the Proud Nationalists, Front Marching, Proud Boy groups, and so forth. And even Jake. Case in point. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it off in that note. With the video, with the water for the precepts, Yahweh Shem Yahushua Barakatah. Brother Kwas Malak, the rest of the Akim end up tuning into this lesson. Y'all by Shemi Shabrak Thumb. All right, well, Baba Ball, soon very soon. Shalom to the elect. All right, I'm going to end off playing a little bit more of this video.
This is the first time in a long time that I am actually starting to panic. You know, I came from nothing. I came from the bottom of the barrel. And I spent years building myself, educating myself, paying my way through college, going through a lot of experience to get to where I was in my career, for it just to be snatched away. And I don't know what I'm gonna do. I am facing homelessness. I'm about to lose my car. I can't pay on my credit card, so my credit is about to take a severe hit. Dashing is not enough. It's just not enough money. There's so many people that are out here unemployed just like me. There's a lot of us that are out there. And the little money that I did have in savings, I used that to help my daughter move here. And it just, as a mother, I'm panicking because she didn't ask for this. You know, there's no way that I can ask my 20-something-year-old daughter to care for her able-bodied mother who cannot find a job. I am trying to keep myself sane by humor, trying to keep myself busy with various things. But there's only so much that you can keep up the mask before you start breaking. And when you have come out of a situation that you don't want to go back to, it puts you in a mental state, because I don't want to go back to homelessness. I don't want to go back to I just don't want to go back to that. And I thought I'd done everything I could to prevent that from happening again. I've lived on the streets before. I slept in parks before. You know, I've walked the streets for hours when I used to be homeless. And that's why I worked so hard to put myself in a position to not go there again. I even got rejected I applied to be a cashier, a cook at a McDonald's. And the manager told me that I should be ashamed of applying for that position because I would be taking that job from other people who doesn't have the experience as I do. I don't give a damn what kind of job it is. I'm just trying to work to keep my head afloat and to keep myself off the street. I have nobody. It's just me. And I had to prepare my daughter for what I see coming. And as long as she's okay, I do care about going back to the street. I don't want to go back to the street. But as long as she's okay, then I know I'll be okay. As long as she has a roof over her head, even if I don't have. And I think it's by design, because every single job that I have applied for, I can count on one hand of how many interviews that I've been to. And the interviews were stellar. I come out feeling good. I'm like, oh, I got this, blah, blah, blah. To only get an email saying that, hey, we don't choose you for the position, choose somebody else. I even had 2 interviews set up to where the interviewers didn't even show up. So. Fucking. Yeah. And what is someone to do? What do they want us to do? A lot of us are going to be in the street, desperate. And I literally don't know what else to do. Trying not to crash out, but it's so fucking hard. I haven't even been in my apartment for a good 2 months now. $106,000 Black women laid off. And I think the most hurtful thing when I was laid off March 7th. I search for jobs every single day, sometimes applying for multiple positions for the same company. Applying for jobs that match my job skill, applying for jobs that I'm overqualified for. How can I tailor my resume for a job when my last 2 positions is an IT manager and an IT director? And if I apply for something that I'm underqualified for, they're not going to hire me. If I apply for a position that exactly meets my job skills, they don't hire me. I have revamped my resume so many times, I don't think I can revamp it anymore. People like to say, oh, you have a lot of skills, you have a lot of experience, you have the education, it's going to be easy. It is not easy out here, and it is not easy getting a job. And I'm scared. I'm scared with everything that's going on right now. I'm scared.